morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are on our beautiful spaceship Earth. And welcome. Welcome to the IAF's webinar on submitting your interactive presentation. This presentation is presented to you by the IAF Public Speaking Lab and Public Speaking and Presentation Skills Lab. And we're very happy to have you all join us. And thank you. We hope this will be both a useful as well as an enjoyable presentation. Your speakers today will be myself. I'm Scott Madry. I'm a professor emeritus at the International Space University, currently on the faculty of the International Space University on the faculty at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And my colleague and friend, Carol Carnett, a member of the faculty at ISU and the English programs lead. And we're also joined today and very happy to have with us Isak Pedolsky from Sweden, who is the lead project manager for the iPosters session. So we're the team that's going to walk you through all of this useful information. So just a bit about the IAF PS Lab. It was created in 2019 to provide additional assistance in public speaking and presentation skills for all of the people from around the world who are attending the IAF programs. And this webinar is also co-sponsored by the IAF Workforce Development and Young Professionals Program Committee, of which Carol and I are both members. And this committee is the primary focal point for all young professional activities within the IAF. And our goal is also to enhance the IAC experience for all young professionals. And the committee's activities are wide-ranging. We have a lot of newsletters and many activities, and I would urge you to Google our committee and see if there are things we're doing that can be useful for you. So I'll turn it over now to Carol Carnett, and she'll go briefly through the agenda of what we're going to do today.
Okay, good morning. As you see here, we have a fairly long agenda, but we'll go quite rapidly. Scott and I are going to tell you as much as we can about the interactive presentation, why it's important, why the format is different. We'll tell you how the structure of the session goes and what you need to do to get ready to give your interactive presentation. We'll talk to you about some of the problems, perhaps failure to present, or if you need to update your presentation, how to do that. We're going to encourage you and tell you more about a lightning talk that will promote your presentation before we even get there. Scott's going to tell you about the IP competition and many of the different things that you can do between now and when the day comes when you present. And at the end, we'll summarize the important points that we've given you and tell you how to get assistance. And Isak is going to tell you everything you need to know about the platform and the tech part of this presentation and how to get help if you need that. So the main thing is that we want you to go forward and do a wonderful job at your presentation. And in the next slide, there is a little bit of information you might want to know. 4,800 abstracts were submitted to the regular sessions from 97 countries. 778 were accepted, and that includes you. So now you need to prepare, submit your presentation, and be ready to present in September. And now I'm going to turn it over to Scott, who's going to gather a bit more information about you.
Yes, so one of the really interesting and useful things that we do in all of our presentations and workshops and activities is we use Slido for real-time feedback. And so what we'd like to ask all of you to please do is log into slido.com. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your laptop. Enter the code hashtag IAF PS Lab, And we want you to please answer 4 questions. This really helps us. We would love to know, is this your first paper that has ever been accepted at the IAC? And secondly, is this your first interactive presentation that you're going to be doing? Also, we would love to know, is this your first presentation in English at an international congress? And finally, how do you feel about your interactive presentation skills right now? You feel really comfortable and confident, or do you feel like you still have some work to do? So what we'd like to ask all of you, please go to Slido and answer these questions, and we'll show you the results at the end of our webinar today. So the whole idea of the interactive presentations is that papers for the IAC, the primary international space conference of the world, we have 2 ways that you can submit papers. You can do the traditional formal oral presentation, standing up in front of a room behind a lectern in front of a screen showing PowerPoints. Or times change, technologies change, and now we have the interactive presentation approach. And it's important that you understand that both of these are treated absolutely equally and have equal importance and value at the IAC. So don't think because you've been selected for an interactive presentation that your material wasn't good enough for a real paper. That's not it at all. It's just that some topics are more suited for an interactive or multimedia approach. And so the interactive presentations have greater potential to include multimedia, audio, video, real-time interaction, animation, and the whole idea, it's more flexible, it's more current with modern technology, and it fosters creativity and engaging, being more collaborative, and visually interacting with your audience. Carol's going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Okay, as Scott has already said, this is a very dynamic forum. You will be in a very large room with many screens, and there will be people gathered waiting to hear your presentation, as well as people walking by and being caught by what you're presenting and stopping and joining your presentation. So it's very interactive. You have a lot of opportunity for discussion. You can exchange information with people right then. You don't have to wait until the end of the session and hope that you catch somebody or they catch you. So you have the dynamism of that. You have a really nice forum for presenting. The screens are large. They're separated, and there's room for people to gather around you, and you can do Q&A on the spot. So you have much more engagement and feedback from your audience. And then next, we're going to talk about the lightning talk, which is a really good way to promote your IP. And a lot of people will go and look at the lightning talks because they're really fast, and they can decide like, oh, I want to go see that one. I want to go see this one. And they make a list of where they want to go and the times for the interactive presentations. Now, for your lightning talk, dress professionally, look nice. Don't do it in your, HUD suit, sweatshirt or anything like that. This is professional. And when you make your video, be sure that you're in a quiet place. You have a nice background and little noise. And because it's international, speak slowly and clearly. You may be a native English speaker, and you may not. So anytime that you have an audience like this, you want to be sure to be understood. Practice your video many times, make several, look at yourself, see what you want to change, and then pick the best one for your final to submit. And here is the link as well, where you have to submit by June 30th your lightning talk. And all of these links I know have been provided to you by the Secretariat, but these are reminders, the date and where you have to go. Be sure that your video isn't more than 1 minute. If it's a few seconds less, that's fine, but 1 minute is the absolute maximum. And you have to upload your file in either MP4 or MOV format. And now Scott's going to tell you about the competition for IP.
Yes, every year during the IAC, we have an official committee of very experienced people who go through the interactive presentation room and watch all of these. And we offer an interactive presentation award to recognize the very best interactive presentations of the Congress. And we have a jury of very experienced international people who do this. And we offer these in five different categories. So we have a winner for science and exploration, one for applications and operations, one for technology, one for infrastructure, and another one for space and society. So you have the chance to win an award at the IAC, which is a very big deal. And so keep in mind while you're preparing and while you're doing this, that you are going to be evaluated and you have the chance to win a very prestigious award. So what you need to do, and one of the main goals of this webinar today is to guide you through all the gates that you need to go through in order to successfully present. And especially if this is your first IAC, there's a lot of things that you need to know. So the first thing is you really need to be very careful of the timelines. And we will present to you the timeline in just a second. When you get to Paris, as soon as you arrive and register, go to the interactive presentation space and get a feel for the room, get a sense. It's a large room. We'll show you pictures and check out the space. If your presentation is not the morning of the first program, go and watch other people, get a sense of how other people are doing it, get a sense of the space and the dynamics, get a feel for the location. We'll talk to you in just a second about all the equipment. And it's very important that you know where to go, which is your location, where do you need to be on the day of your presentation. Please show up early, be prepared, look sharp. As Carol said, the IAC is a very formal event, guys. It's coat and tie. It's a formal event, so please dress up to the event. Your future boss may be watching your presentation. There shouldn't be any technical problems, but if there are, just keep going. You have a certain amount of time, that's all you get. And especially because these are interactive presentations, interact with your audience. Don't just turn around and stare at the screen and point at the screen. Interact with your audience. Look at your audience in the eye. Interact with people. Be sure that you keep to your time limits. There will be a timer in the system on the screen, so be aware of your time. Practice, know your spiel, and please don't go over your time. And this is what the space is going to look like. And it's a really exciting thing here. It's kind of empty, but it's not going to be empty in September. There's going to be a lot of people. And so this is the environment you're going to be working in. and you will be assigned a given location, a given place. And so you need to go earlier and make sure you know where you're supposed to be. But this is what it's going to look like. You can see the numbers, and it's really exciting, and it's a wonderful thing just to wander through and see all these people giving all these talks. It's a very, very dynamic and exciting environment. So Carol's going to talk to you now about these very important deadlines.
Yes, and you see there are many of them. I think the most important thing you need to remember is that you must now submit a full paper. That has not been true in the past, but it is now. And as we say, no paper, no podium at the IAC. So June 10th, you've got to have your presentation confirmed. Then at the end of June, on the 30th, you need to get your lightning talk done and submitted. Then 1st of September, you have a good amount of time there to get your IP presentation submitted. And the day after that, you have to have that full paper in. And all of these links are to remind you of where you need to do the submission. Now, you also have to have the registration done by September 5th. And then after all of this is finished, there will be an award ceremony and IP session on the Wednesday, 21st of September for that. And then in the next slide, I know all of you have received this roadmap, and it was sent to you with your materials when you were accepted, but keep this around because this gives you a really good idea of what you have to do. Even make a picture of it and stick it on the wall or someplace to remind you that you have many deadlines to complete. And then I think you will be fine. Now, Scott's going to summarize for you some of the important things that we've discussed already.
So it's absolutely key, as Carol just said, that you must submit all of these things on time. The IAC is a huge activity, and it's really, really important that you are aware of these deadlines and that you submit all of your materials on time. Please don't wait until the last second. What may happen is you're going to have literally hundreds of people trying to submit their things at 11:57 p.m. Paris time on the deadline, and it's possible the servers could get overloaded. So don't wait until the last minute. Know these deadlines, be prepared, and get your materials all submitted on time. It's a really good idea to watch some of the previous winners of the Interactive Presentation Awards. So here's the web address, or you can just go on the IAF website and search, but look at some of the really good ones that have been done. And the whole idea of the interactive format is to be creative, to stretch out, try something different, try something innovative, try something that really grabs the attention of the audience. And so think about how can you really take advantage of the potential that this medium offers. Carol mentioned it before, but it's so important. Please speak slowly, speak clearly. You're speaking to an international audience, the majority of whom English is not their first language. And our goal is to communicate our ideas and our thoughts to a broad international and interdisciplinary community. So please, when you're doing your lightning talk, when you're doing your presentation, speak slowly and speak clearly. And also, please dress up for the IAC. It's a very formal dress event. You want to look good, you want to look formal, so it's a very formal event. Please, if you possibly can, go in and check your presentation on the screen before. Also bring lots of business cards. You're gonna meet huge numbers of people that you want to keep in touch with. So bring cards, bring might bring some little national gifts or something. Also, while you're in the hall, observe other people, learn how other people are doing these talks so that next year, when you do another one, you can improve your skills and really do even better than you did before. And hopefully, all of these things together will help you have a really excellent experience here at the IAC. So now we're going to turn it over to Isak, and Isak is going to walk you through step by step all of the process that you're going to need to know about how to submit your presentation. And he's going to go through the login, managing your presentation, doing the submission, all of this kind of stuff. Very important. So pay attention, and I'm going to turn it over to Isak, who really knows the answers to all of these things. So Isak, take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Miriam, and thank you, Stefano, and thank you to the entirety of the IAF staff. We have been working with the IAF since their conference, or their Congress rather, back in 2019 in Washington, DC. And I think I speak for the entire company when I say thank you for allowing us to be your interactive presentation partner. Welcome everybody to this instructional webinar. To piggyback off of what Scott and Carol were saying, I am about to take you through the technical aspects on how to create an IP or an interactive presentation for the Congress in Paris. Now, just like Carol showed you, I'm showing you a couple of images that we took on site in Dubai last year. Now, I have been seeing and noticing all of your questions trickling into Slido, and we will most definitely get to those at the end. However, I do suspect that a lot of questions of yours will be answered very shortly. Now, if you were in Dubai, or in any other IAC we've done, you'll know that there is a dedicated IP space. Now, in this dedicated IP space, just like Scott and Carol showed you, there are interactive touchscreens. Now, what is being shown on all of these touchscreens is one and the same, and that is this page right here. This is the 22nd International Astronautical Congress IP Gallery. This is what's going to be displayed on all of the screens. Not this exactly, obviously, it'll be Paris 22, but it will look sort of like this. Now, you'll notice that you have drop-down menus up at the top of your screen here. So you can browse by country, you can browse by symposia, and you can browse by your time slot, or whichever IP you're interested in pulling up. And all you need to do here is to click on the thumbnail or your thumbnail to bring up your IP. And as we scroll through the gallery here, we would be doing this with our finger, obviously, in Paris, because they are touchscreens. As you can see here, there are a bunch of useful lines of metadata underneath each thumbnail. So, for example, we have the author first name and surname, we have the author country, we have their institution, we have their symposia, their abstract ID and their abstract title. And just like Scott was alluding to previously, you can always check out what screen you're going to be at in Paris underneath your thumbnail. So the easiest way to find your specific presentation in order to pull it up before your presentation would just simply type in your name. So let's say our name is Alex, Alex Jogudis. Let's click on their IP and up pops their IP. Now, we don't want to reinvent the wheel here. As you can see, it reminds us of a PDF paper poster, a traditional academic paper poster. but the freedoms of creativity are endless. So as you can see, you have the title up here at the top. When you log in for the first time to your IP portal, your title will be preloaded on top of your poster. However, you can edit it. But your title up here at the top and your author names will be preloaded but editable. So then you have the institutions here up in the top left-hand corner. You do have the IP logo, which is static and non-removable. And you have these different content boxes here down at the bottom, and the author photos that you are able to upload 8 apiece up in the top right-hand corner. And I will show you how to do all of this. But what's so cool about the IP is that you have everything at an arm's length. And I'm talking obviously about these content boxes we're looking at right here. Now, looking at an IP at a glance without interacting with it does not do it much justice. I suppose you can design it that way, but that's not really utilizing the strengths of the system. Mainly, there is no limit to the amount of content an IP can hold. So this will be especially useful during your presentation. If you receive questions afterwards, you can simply, if you receive a question about the ground station, you can quickly just click on the ground station content box, scroll down, click on the graphic to blow it up to its full size, click on it again to collapse, click on this image to blow it up to its full size. Right here, Alex has elected to incorporate a YouTube video, so click on the YouTube video. I should also say that during the presentation, it might not be popular presentation for 30 seconds in order to play a video. We want to hear from you. We want to listen to your presentation, but you'll quickly notice that your IP will live on, just like Alex's IP right here, what we're looking at right now, will live on after the conference. So it's great if you want to upload videos. It's great if you want to upload audio narrations to your IP, because there's no better way to interact with somebody's research than to pull up their poster, click on the narration button, listen to them talk about their research without them having to be there. So remember that it is essentially a database where your IP will live on, and you will have access to your IP. So if you want to present your IP outside of IAC 2022, perhaps you want to do a presentation for your colleagues, you always have access to your IP, so you can always use it as a modality in terms of presentation. You don't always have to use PowerPoint or Keynote. So anyway, if you're interested in the introduction, click on the introduction content box. If you want to check out this video, ground station operation, click on this content box and click on the video. So you have everything at an arm's length. You don't have to go through each slide from A to Z or from 1 to N. So that's really it. This is what a completed IP looks like. You are free to check out this slideshow. Alex has elected to make this bottom right hand a slideshow. So if Alex, for example, was transferring content from a PowerPoint, let's say, over to the IP system, this would be an appropriate section to upload his slides. So he can fill out all of his other content boxes with whatever multimedia and text that he likes, and then he can upload his slides to this section. In this case, he has elected to upload high-resolution imagery, which is highly encouraged as well. You can click the pause button here during your presentation, and you can scroll through the imagery at your own discretion. And lastly, before we jump into how to create an IP, you'll notice that there are buttons down here at the bottom of the IP. We have author information, abstract. These two buttons work the same way. So we did not want to occupy prime real estate on the template itself for these types of sections right here. So what we did is that we tucked them away. And if you have a bunch of co-authors and you have a long abstract, you might want to consider using these sections, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's, oh, actually, I should talk about these buttons down here because they might be useful for you on site. If you find an IP that you find extremely interesting, you might want to start a correspondence with that author. You can send them an email here. And conversely, authors or attendees and visitors of the IP22 Paris Gallery can send you emails about your research as well. And then print, that's just an offline static PDF document of your poster for your records. And then get iPoster, here, I can email this specific poster or this specific IP to myself. So I type in my email address here, and then the main author, Alex, in this case, will be notified that I requested to send myself his poster. And so you can actually reach out to the people that have sent. There is no anonymity here because your email address will be shared with the author. So let's move on. Let's move on. Now, before we get into how to create an IP for Paris, we sent out the letters of invitation to all IP authors on May 25th. And this is what that letter of invitation looks like. Now, if you didn't receive it on April 25th, before contacting support@ipostersessions.com, and I will write that out in the chat as well. Before you contact us saying that you didn't receive it, please check your spam folder or your promotional inbox in your email. So this is what the letter of invitation looks like to create your IP for Paris. It contains a bunch of useful information, so please read through it carefully. It contains, amongst other things, the deadline, which Carol and Scott spoke about. The deadline to submit your IP is September 1st. It contains a bunch of technical support links like YouTube tutorials, a quick guide in English, French, and Japanese, and Spanish, FAQs. If you have any technical questions regarding the IP system, please reach out to access@ipostersessions.com. And if you have questions about the Congress in Paris, please email ipsupport@iafastro.org. But the most important information that is enclosed in your letter of invitation to create an IP for Paris is this information right here, which I'm highlighting right now. That is the login page to create your IP, your specific username, and your specific password. So let's click on this link right here. Let's copy and paste our username and password into this field right here. And let's log in for the first time. Now, you'll notice that there is no reason or there's no need to download anything. Everything is HTML5 web-based. So all you need is a web browser. And looking briefly at the system requirements here, all web browsers are fully supported, but we do not fully support Internet Explorer, since Microsoft themselves have started to phase that browser out themselves. So, but once we enter our login credentials, we are taken to the welcome page, and this is what it looks like. It contains a lot of information that is already in your letter of invitation, but once again, you have your YouTube tutorials, quick guide, some sample posters from last year, FAQ page, and a guide on how to switch templates once you've already started. You can click here for that. And the system requirements as well. Since we do have an office in Europe, we strictly adhere to GDPR privacy laws. So if you want to read up more about how we handle the information that we receive about you from IAF, you can click here. Now, next, we want to click the big green button, choose your template, and we are taken to the template selection screen. These are the 6 different templates that we offer for IAC 2022 in accordance with IAF. And this is arguably quite an important step in the creative process. Now, we're well aware that 99.9% of our end users don't sit down with a blank iPoster or IP template and conduct research from scratch. Everybody is copying and pasting. Everybody is transferring over content from Word, PDF, PowerPoint, Canva, Keynote, etc., etc. So take a look at how you've disposed your previous research, whether it's a 5-paragraph essay in Word or a slideshow with 8 slides. If you have an essay, for example, with 5 paragraphs, you might want to choose the template that has 5 content boxes, or 4 content boxes, all the way up to 7 content boxes with a slideshow option as well. For this demo, I am going to choose template number 5, 6 content boxes with a slideshow function, just to flex the system in terms of choosing a template that offers a slideshow box. So let's click on this. And once we've selected our template, our IP has now been created. We have our unique domain name up here, and that's our personal link to our IP. Now, this is what you're greeted with. As I said before, your title up here at the top will be preloaded, but it is editable. So you can change that around, but we recommend you not change it because we preloaded the title that we received from IAF. Your name will be preloaded here. And I should say right off the bat that we only send the letter of invitation to the main author. It is up to the main author to log in and invite co-authors themselves. And I will show you guys how to do that. So continuing on, we have our title preloaded. We have our author name or author names preloaded. I'll type in my alma mater here. Like so. So our institution is in place. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to figure out how I would like to kind of the layout of my IP for my presentation. So let's just do this. I think this is the most simple intro, method, analysis, conclusion, discussion. So now that our content box titles are in place, it is way easier for me to go to my Microsoft Word document, copy, paste, copy, paste down the line like this. So please go ahead and copy and paste all of your text into the appropriate content boxes where you want them. And you'll see, like, if I want to add, for example, an image into my introduction content box, I click on the introduction content box. Let's say these are 2 paragraphs here. I'll insert a couple of line breaks for good measure, and then I'll click on the add image button in this toolbar that we get every time we click a content box in editing mode. Now, I want to talk about this toolbar just briefly. The bottom row and the middle row, I won't talk about at all. If you have used Microsoft Word, you can use these tools right here. It's bullets, superscripts, subscripts, italics and bold, how to individually change font colors and font sizes. And it is the top row I want to talk about. And the top row includes all of the multimedia tools that you might want to use. So moving from left to right in the top row right here, we want to click Add Image. So make sure that you have placed your cursor where you want the image to pop up. Once we've added it, click on Add Image. I have a folder here on my desktop where I have gathered all of the images, MP3 files, MP4 files, I know I'm going to want to use for this demonstration, and I suggest you do the same. Just create an IP Paris 2022 folder on your desktop and gather all of the author photos, GIFs, live data sets, and graphics that you want to use for your IP. And then they will be very easy to just drag and drop into here. So we have dragged and dropped our GIF into this rectangular dedicated space. And I do apologize for my internet being so slow, but once this is uploaded, we will just simply click OK. And then we're done. Now you can see the text wrap around our GIF right here. This is what it's going to look like. And through an accessibility standpoint, I would recommend you to type in an alt text. Our system works with screen readers. So if you want to describe what the image is displaying, DNA string. So click OK, and now our GIF has been placed in between our two paragraphs of text in our introduction content box. Now, let's say we want to add something else. Let's say we want to add, right, so moving from left to right, we've added an image. Now, we also support iframes. So if that would be a tool relevant for you to use, please copy and paste the iframe URL and then paste it into here and click OK. If you need any support with this function, we're always available at access@ipostersessions.com or support@ipostersessions.com. But that support email address is in your letter of invitation as well. So those are the iframes. I don't have an iframe URL to show you right now, so I do apologize for that. Let's move on and add a video. Since Dubai, IAC 2021, we have moved on from hosting our videos or allowing videos, or I should say, require the videos used in IPs to be hosted on either YouTube or Vimeo. We have authors that have sensitive embargoed research that don't feel comfortable uploading their videos on YouTube and Vimeo to then later add them to their IP. We also had issues with our Chinese users not being able to access YouTube videos. So what you want to do here is that you want to save your video in an MP4 format. And then we just simply, once again, drag and drop our MP4 format file into here. It will take a second to upload, and I did choose a very, very low resolution video for this demo because I didn't want it to load so much. Once you've uploaded the video, you are taken to this allow download, yes or no, or autoplay, yes or no. I recommend you leaving these on the default setting. No. Do not enable autoplay. I think that's very annoying because then your video will start playing once you open up your IP in the gallery. So just click OK, and now we have our low resolution video file in between our paragraphs right here in our analysis content box. And then we have add MP3 audio. So let's go to our conclusion content box, click on this little speaker icon right here, and drag and drop an MP3 file into here, like so. And this isn't to be confused with audio narration as a whole. This is only if you want to add an MP3 snippet to this specific area in this specific part of your IP, like so. And then right here down in the bottom right-hand corner, we can choose to make this text or content box rather an image slider or a text field. So let's make this an image slider, and let's drag and drop an image into here. Your images need to be PNG JPEG, or GIF. So those are the images or the file types of your images that are required. Like so. So now we can see that we have added 2 in our slideshow, and you can delete them and edit them and all of that. Now let's just upload a quick author photo in the top right-hand corner. Like so. Excellent. And let's discover the right-hand menu. Up in the top right, you will see the deadline. The deadline to publish your IP, once again, is September 1st. Now, quickly just here, moving down from top to bottom, we have design your IP. Now, this has all to do with customization and personalization. If you want to upload a 1920 x 1080 background image, you do that here, which I definitely recommend you doing. It makes your iPoster or IP stand out in the gallery, filled with everybody else's IP. And you can change the background colors of the content boxes like so, and change the fonts universally. So we can do like this. Now, this doesn't look good at all, obviously, but this is just to show you what the system can do. So here's where you do all of that. Now, the green button right here is the narration button, and we very much implore you to use this because your IP will live on even after Paris. So click on narration, and you can upload an MP3 file here, or you can record yourself within the IP software live like this. And your browser will ask you, can you use the microphone? Allow. And then we've started 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Then click stop. And now, since you have this little icon here, your IP narration has been added to your poster. Then we have author info, abstract, disclosures, and references. All these areas work the same way. If you don't put anything into these sections, you won't have these buttons at the bottom of your IP. But let's just add the word test in disclosures, and you will see that we have a disclosures button when we preview our IP. Then moving down the line here from top to bottom, when I am available, you are free outside of the official presentation time you have in Paris. You are free to facilitate more communication by booking a chat. Now just click on here and then click add new session. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden, so that's why the system thinks that I'm in Stockholm, Sweden. Select your time zone, select from what time you will be available to what time you intend to conclude your chat session and what date. Maybe it's during the conference, maybe it's after the conference, and then save settings. All you need to do to start your chat is to log in, just like we've logged in here, and then there will be a big green button that says start chat. You will get a little pop-up box that says start chat, and your thumbnail in the gallery will have a button on it that says live now. But if you're interested in how this works, we have a good FAQ article. So just click on this button in the top right-hand corner, how it works. Then we have image gallery and video gallery. These are more databases or repositories, not really galleries because nobody can see it. Image gallery is all of the images that you have ever used or uploaded to your IP. So what I like to do is I go to the image gallery. The first thing I do, I take all of the images that I know that I'm going to want to use for my IP, and then I upload them into the image gallery right away. That way, it's easier. Let's say we want to add an image into here. I don't have to drag and drop it into here every time. I can just go to image gallery and select the one I want, like that. And the same with video gallery. So these are the MP4 files that we have used. Then version history. If somehow you lose your content, you can always revert back to a previously saved revision. So the system auto saves every 6 minutes. So please, you can save your own content by clicking any of these versions here. And then support. All of these we've talked about besides render thumbnail, and that's if you notice that your thumbnail is out of date, you can just click render thumbnail and your gallery URL or your gallery thumbnail, excuse me, will update to the newly saved version. And then print IP, that's what we talked about before. Share iPoster, that's just your URL here. It's the same as this one up top. And share settings. I won't go into much detail about this. I just wanted to say here is where you invite co-authors. So as the main author, we are only sending the invitation to you. So please, if you are collaborating with somebody else for the IP in Paris, invite them here and the system will automatically send to them their own login details. So remember that. And you're free to obviously explore these other tabs here in the My Settings button. And then preview, click preview here in the right-hand menu to best get a look at what your IP will actually display like in the IP gallery in Paris. We have our intro section here. We have our video playing nicely here. We have our images and we have our audio snippet. We have our slideshow. And we have our audio presentation down here, our narration. We have our disclosure section, and that is about it. So I am going to start taking questions, but last but not least, once you are done, September 1st, click on the publish button. This is for quality assurance. We will go through the IP gallery before Paris to make sure that everybody's content is displaying nicely. I will be in Paris at the IP support desk for any questions that you might have. Now, this is just a dummy account, so that's why I can't publish. Yeah, so you can continue to work on your IP even after September 1st. But as Scott said, please respect the deadlines so we can make sure that you're all set before your presentation. And that is about it. I will take some questions here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Isaac. That's excellent. And what we'll do now, Carol has been monitoring all of your questions, and Carol will ask us questions, both to Isaac and to myself, that you have submitted. So go ahead, please, Carol.
Okay, one question. How much time during Congress will attendees have to browse the IPs without scheduled talks? Will these screens be available at all times? Isaac?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If Washington, D.C. and Dubai is any inclination of what will happen in Paris, that is right. We will fire up the IP stations in Paris once the exhibit hall opens. They will be available for browsing during the entirety of the conference. However, they will be jam-packed with visitors during the IP sessions themselves. So please do it beforehand.
Okay, Scott, this year, the manuscript is compulsory for IP presenters. That is a lot to prepare in addition to the IP presentation. So how can we manage our schedule?
Yes, this year you are correct. It is mandatory that you submit a paper. And I know that this is a lot of work. It's a lot of things to manage. We do have 2 more upcoming webinars in this series. On June 21st, at the same time, we're going to have a webinar on how to write your paper. So we'll do a similar webinar specifically focused on paper writing. And then on August 23, we're going to do another one on actually your presentation, your presentation skills, how to speak clearly and slowly, and how to present in an international Congress like the IAC. So We have more help coming to you. Your paper does not have to be extremely long, but you do have to submit your written paper as well as your IP.
Okay, another question. Will I have technical assistance during the days of the IAC if I have issues with my poster presentation? Isaac, sorry.
Absolutely. Please come visit me at the IP support desk in Paris. I'll have my computer there so we can sort out any kinks with your IP before your presentation. But please do not come to me 10 seconds prior to your presentation. At least give me 10 minutes. So yes.
Thanks. Okay, here's one. I don't feel comfortable with public speaking. What do you recommend for newcomers?
Yes,
Scott.
so we again, we will be having our webinar on August 23rd. This is very common. A lot of people don't really feel comfortable doing this, but this is a wonderful opportunity for you to build that skill set. It's important for you to build the skill set, to know how to have the confidence to give a public presentation. And this is the work that Carol and I do every year. We are also giving another public webinar on the Saturday before the program starts in the afternoon. It's free and open, available to all attendees. You can come and participate in that. The real thing to do is practice in front of your mirror, give your presentation to your cat, corral your neighbors and roommates, talk to people, just try to build a little bit of experience. But the bottom line is you can do this. Everybody can do this. It's a learned skill, and you just have to go in there and make a start. And so come and participate in our webinars, but really the best thing I can suggest to you is just practice.
Okay, here's a question. What if I'm selected for several IPs and I have a schedule conflict? That's a happiness problem, but that's the question. Several IPs and I have a schedule issue. I'm not sure who can answer that question.
I'm not really sure. If you have co-authors, perhaps one of your co-authors could step in and be the presenter for one. But yes, the IAF, the IAC is a very busy event. We all have 7 things that we want to do at the same time. But if you do have a unsolvable scheduling problem, in other words, if you have a paper scheduled at exactly the same time as your IP, then that's something I would suggest you contact the support email and ask them about how you could manage that.
Okay, here are a couple of questions about the site itself. Is background music allowed for videos shown during the IPs? Does it have to be licensed? And in general, is music a good or a bad idea? And will the acoustics be such that we can be heard in the session, or will we need or have microphones? Isaac?
Thanks, Carol. No, you will absolutely be able to be heard. You will be standing at your IP board. There will form a semicircle around you with your audience. It is a quite intimate form of presentation. People will be hovering back and forth, catching the first part or the second part of your IP presentation. We do not recommend that you play any videos or any audio narrations during your IP. We only want you to talk. And during your presentation, your voice will be heard, although obviously it can get quite loud, but for your audience, I can say that you will be heard. And then in regards to the music licensing, we don't, on our end, everything is fine. We do not take any responsibility for plagiarism in terms of what's being uploaded to our server. But I don't think it's a big deal if you choose to include a song by the Beatles. I mean, I don't know if you'll get sued by Interscope Records or I think Michael Jackson owns their catalog. So, but yeah, I think that's just fine. That's just fine.
I think we're coming up against our time limit. So Carol, perhaps if we have one more question.
Okay, this is a combined question from several. Is the design of the IP editable, or can we only change the content? And how can I edit if I still notice that changes are to be made, like up to September 2nd? Can I still change it if I see that I need to make changes?
Thanks, Carol. The templates that we offer for this Congress, these 6 different templates, you cannot edit them in terms of layout of content boxes and number of content boxes. The creative freedom within the templates themselves, since there is no limit to the amount of content, is still quite extensive. So that's the first question. The second question is, yes, you are allowed to make minor tweaks because we do not intend to shut down editing at any time. However, please respect the deadline, because if you don't upload your IP by September 1st, we cannot do quality control.
Okay, and added on to that, updating your full paper. If you want to make changes in that, it's outside of the IP, but it's the mandatory paper. How long do you have to do that once you've done your paper and submitted it?
We will go over all of that in our webinar on the 21st. So I would suggest that you come and participate in that. But the bottom line is there are strict deadlines that you must adhere to. If you have a regular paper in your notification letter, it has all the dates. And so you just need to make sure that you absolutely are going to submit all of those on time. You can update your paper, and we'll talk about that more in our webinar on the 21st. So what I'd like to do now is ask you to please give us some feedback. The purpose of the PS Lab is to help you gain skills to make your participation in the IAC a success. We want you to succeed. We want you to have a wonderful experience. And so please, if you will, on Slido, give us some feedback. Tell us how you think this webinar rates. What did you like about the webinar? What did you think was really useful? And also, how can we improve what we're doing? And I will ask Stefano and Paris if he would please share with us the results of the Slido poll that we did at the beginning of the webinar. And so perhaps if you can, please put up the results that we had for the beginning. And so, yes, this is pretty much what we expected. Is this your first paper? Yes, 85%. And I would just say, congratulations, good for you. This is excellent. It's a wonderful thing to do. And you'll be very pleased that you've done this. And we had 113 people answering the question. So is this your first interactive? And of course, it's a new domain. It's a new world. So yeah, 95%. That's pretty much, again, what we expected. And then we also asked you about, is this your first English paper? Again, almost 60%. And again, Carol and I will be offering other webinars to assist you in doing your presentations in an international context. And then our last question that we asked was, how do you feel about your presentation skills? And yeah, pretty much a good bell curve here. So 15% of you think you can ace it. It's a new world, all this interactive stuff. It's fascinating, and I think it's really exciting, but it's going to take some work on your part. So don't wait until the last second. Start thinking about this now. Start thinking about how you're going to manage these timelines, and please do participate in the other webinars that we're going to give. And I think with that, we'll close our program out. We want to thank everyone who participated today. We want to thank Carol and Isak, all the support staff in Paris, and we really look forward to seeing all of you in Paris. Please come up and say hi to us if you see us. Come up and say hi, and we look forward to seeing all of you in Paris and hope you have a wonderful experience at the IAC. And thank you very much for joining us today.